Yes, folks, welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It is starting 11 prediction time for tomorrow's trip to St Johnstone. Just got back from Germany last night, flew home from Frankfurt to Amsterdam and then Amsterdam back to Edinburgh. Got in just about 12:15 last night. It was a great trip despite the result. Obviously, you know when you're following Celtic away from home in Europe that a victory is never guaranteed, and it turned out as you'd probably have expected it to before the game. I think for spells we hung in there in the game, but Leipzig were probably deserved winners over the 90 minutes. If you were there, I hope you had a brilliant trip. Thanks to everyone that came up to say they watched the channel, they enjoy it, they subscribed. It's always brilliant on trips like that for people to come up and say they enjoy the content. That's why we make it. And as I say, it was great to be there. The atmosphere in the away end was brilliant. It was a great experience, as it always is, going to watch Celtic away in Europe. But unfortunately, it was an all too familiar feeling in terms of the result. And now we're up to McDiarmid Park tomorrow to face St Johnstone. They are currently sitting 9th in the table. They had a game on Wednesday as well. They lost 2-1 at Rugby Park to Kilmarnock. We're unbeaten in our last 23 meetings with the Saints, so hopefully we can get another victory tomorrow. We are going through a bit of a sticky run, I suppose. I think it's 1 win in the last 5 games, albeit there's the 3 Champions League games in there. The 1-1 over Motherwell last weekend, which wasn't vintage. I think we've got to try and get a good performance and good victory under our belt tomorrow to try and pick ourselves back up going into that home game against Leipzig next week. As I say, the game the other night, I thought Leipzig were much the better team in the first half. We did well at the start of the second half to get back into the game. We lost the first goal at a terrible time. We had the best spell we had in the first half, 3 corners consecutively. We were forcing Leipzig to turn the ball over. We created a couple of good chances, but then we give it away. McGregor gives it away, and ironically enough, it looks like he's given himself a really bad injury because he takes the heavy touch. Having watched the highlights back, the heavy touch takes him into the tackle, which I think has given him a bad knee injury. And to compound it, he chases all the way back, gets a foot in the ball, and all he really manages to do is slide it through towards Nkunku, who scores. I think in the second half, first 5-10 minutes, we looked good, got the goal, which was massive for us. And then we survived a scare when the VAR, second VAR decision went for us. Both of those decisions, by the way, the first one is offside, but it's very, very close. The second one being in the line of sight of Joe Hart, and if that had went against Celtic, I'd have been absolutely raging. At the time in the stadium, I thought it was because Maeda had a foul given against them in the build-up to it. I didn't think it looked like a foul. I thought that's why they brought it back, but I was really surprised to see it was offside for blocking Joe Hart's vision. But listen, I think 3-1, and it could have been worse with maybe that VAR decision. I think we just lost our way at that time in the game. I think we were rattled. Ange took the heat off Joe Hart a wee bit by saying if it wasn't Joe, it'd have been somebody else because we were making bad decisions, and I think we were just rattled after conceding that goal. The crowd was up, we were a bit all over the place, and both Jens and Welsh couldn't play a pass into midfield, and the gap between those two centre-halves and the midfielders was far too big. And so both of them went back to Hart, and Leipzig have got the 3 attackers up against the 2 centre-halves and the goalkeeper, basically. Hart makes a poor pass, and we're 2-1 down, and that really killed us in the game. So disappointing, but we've got another chance next week to try and rectify it, but we're going to have to perform much better than that. We were too open. Across the 90 minutes, we were far too open. As I say, we conceded 5 goals. 2 of them were ruled out for VAR, and Hart did have 1 or 2 saves as well. So I think we need to be a lot more intense. The press needs to be a lot better, and we need to defend better as a unit, collectively, much better than we did on Wednesday night. Anyway, we'll get to the team for this game tomorrow against St Johnstone. A few shouts that Joe Hart should maybe be dropped and Ben Siegrist should come in. I don't think it's quite at that stage. Listen, Hart's had obviously 2 high-profile errors now with the Juranovic own goal against Motherwell last weekend, and then that one against Leipzig. You could argue he's not been in brilliant form since the St Mirren game. There's always these voices that spring up to say, oh, well, I've never really fancied him as a Celtic goalkeeper, and all the usual overreactions that you get, but I don't think we should drop him. I don't think that's I don't think that really fits with what Ange is trying to do, that if somebody makes a mistake carrying out his instructions, that he's not going to stick by them and drop them. I think Hart will definitely play in goals tomorrow. Let me know what you think in the comments. Would you start Siegrist? I just don't see it. I think it'd be quite poor actually to drop Joe Hart after what he did last season. I know that it's all about form and how you're playing just now, but I just think it's a wee bit too early. It's not at the period where he's been having 4 or 5 really, really high profile errors and you just need to take him out because it's becoming really detrimental. It's not at that stage yet. It could be. If he has another stinker tomorrow, we'll be getting towards having to drop him, but I just think he will get the nod. I think he'll probably be the captain as well because McGregor's out and he's the only other experienced head really that I expect to be in this starting 11. Juranovic at right back. The defence obviously the other night not great across the back four. I wouldn't say. Juranovic did turn the ball over for the third goal, which I know Leipzig got up the pitch and it's about 30 seconds later that the ball ends up in the net and they work it really well, but I thought it was a lazy pass at that time in the game and it wasn't his best performance in a Celtic jersey. Juranovic, I'm fearful that the centre half pairing will stay the same. Carter Vickers trained today. I don't know where he's at though, and I think I would, if I was the manager, I would keep him for during the week. We should be able to navigate this game tomorrow without him. That is the reality of it. So I'm going to keep Welsh and Jens in at centre half. I think Taylor will obviously start at left back. Ange did say today in the press conference that he'll make 2 or 3 changes, and we've obviously seen that backfire. Although it was 5 or 6 changes against St Mirren, but I think Abelgard will start in the deeper position in the midfield. Too early to make any conclusions about Abelgard. I thought you can tell what his strengths are the other night, but a wee bit of the Landry and Guemo about him where he kept winning it back and then giving it away. So interested to see more from him. I think the minutes will do him good. The only thing I would say in this position is that it would not surprise me to see either Moy or McCarthy start. McCarthy again just out of nowhere the other night, get minutes off the bench. The game, one of the few starts he had last season was actually at McDermott Park on Boxing Day, and he was alright to be fair. He put in a decent performance, so maybe that will sway the manager maybe towards him tomorrow. And we've seen Moy start obviously and perform quite disappointingly against St Mirren, so interesting to see how the manager deals with that one tomorrow. McGregor's such a big player for us. How's the midfield going to look without him over the next period? We don't know how long it's going to be yet, but it looks like he's gone to London today to see a specialist in a knee brace, and the manager's saying it's not short term. I don't think we're going to see him before the World Cup, and that's not based on any information. I just think we'd be extremely fortunate if we see him before the World Cup. I think it's 8 weeks at least, just going by the way everyone's talking about it and the fact that he's had to go and see a specialist about it. So fear the worst with that, but players are going to have to step up because the captain is a big player, both in terms of obviously his role as a captain, but also his role in the team and how he helps this team function. So somebody's going to have to step up, and I think everyone will need to raise their level of performance. In front of Abelgard, I'm going to keep Hatate and O'Reilly. I thought Hatate had some good moments the other night. When Leipzig were turning over the ball, he had a great pass into Kyogo for the chance that I think it's actually the chance that led to the corner that ends up leading to Leipzig's first goal. But it was a great, incisive first-time pass. He makes a very similar pass in the build-up to Jota's goal as well. I think we win it back and he fires it into Kyogo first time, and Kyogo dribbles into the box, sets up Jota. So I think Hatate had some good moments. He did tire, and again we were too open across the pitch in midfield as well. I think O'Reilly tired. It wasn't his best game in a Celtic jersey. So I expect better performances from those guys tomorrow, and I just hope there's not any lingering hangover in terms of their energy output the other night, because as I say, they did tire later in the game and they're going to have to put in a good level of performance tomorrow for us to get the win that we need. The front three I think is going to look totally different. This is where I think the changes will come tomorrow, because we've got competition and says there's guys training well who he wants to introduce tomorrow and give the guys who have had quite a lot of minutes recently maybe a bit of a rest. I think Abada will come back. He's back available. He'll play on the right hand side, I think. I think Haksabanovic will play on the left, and I think Georgios Yakimakis will play through the middle. As I say, that's a totally different front three. I don't think we've ever seen it before. I think Yakimakis will be desperate to get a start, desperate to get back on the score sheet as well. I think it could be a game that suits him. We've heard a lot of people that prefer Yakimakis say that in these away games where defences might try and be more physical with us on narrower pitches, that he's a much better option than Kyogo. I don't think that necessarily is a cast iron fact, because Kyogo has opened the scoring for us in away games like Ross County, like Dundee United, difficult away games, small pitches. He has been the man that unlocked the door, but that's not to say that Yakimakis can't really be an asset for us in this game tomorrow. I'd like to see more of Haksabanovic. I think the start against Shakhtar was a wee bit out of the blue for him. I think more minutes will do him the world of good. And I think Abada, he was excellent at McDermott Park last year. Maybe that'll factor into the manager's decision making. I've got Jota and Kyogo obviously on the bench based on this team. That means the bench will be strong. It means they'll be there if we need them. But we'll see what the manager goes with tomorrow, because he says 2 or 3 changes he thinks. Whether they'll be in the forward areas of the pitch or not, I don't know. So the big ones are, I'm keeping Hart in goals. I think the manager will keep Hart in goals. Abelgard I'm going with in midfield. What do you think? And do you think there'll be any changes in the front three? Would you rest the likes of Jota and Kyogo, or do you think that's too big a risk? We get stung resting some of the big players against St Mirren, and we obviously can't afford the same thing to happen tomorrow. So let me know what you think of that starting at 11. Like this video, comment your own thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you tomorrow at McDermott Park for full-time reaction. Cheers.